So thank you all and welcome to Marketing Tool Talk. I'm really glad to have everybody here. I'm even more glad to have my friend Ken Watson from Houston, Texas here, and he is going to school me up good on Instagram marketing because as you all probably know from the emails that I sent out, I have a personal account for Instagram, and I do the typical thing where I post pictures of food and sports events, and I'm not using it for marketing for my business. And I need to figure out, if I'm going to do so and how to do so. The other thing I do use it for is to follow libraries who are on Instagram. That's one of the things that keeps me excited and calm after a long day is to flip through photos on Instagram. So I'm excited about that. And we will definitely get to more introductions in a second. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I'm going to do that. And there we are. And like I said, again, anytime that you'd like, throw your Instagram handles in if you've got them in the chat so we can share. And come on, somewhere down here I'll find my arrow keys. For those of you who are perhaps new to this edition of Marketing Tool Talk, I do this free webinar, Lunch and Learn, every month. And I try to give out tips on various tools that I've come across. They might be tools that I've talked about in one of my columns for the Marketing Library Services newsletter from Information Today. They may have been something that came up when I was in discussions with my pal Mark Aaron Polger, who runs the Marketing Libraries Journal. It's open access, peer review, and we are looking for columns and papers for the next volume. And also, for those who don't know, I'm president of the board of directors for the nonprofit Library Marketing Conference Group. We run the popular LMCC. And just a reminder that the LMCC will be in St. Louis, Hyatt Regency at the Arch, November 14th and 15th. And I'm really excited to say that I know great things are happening with our new planning teams and that the call for proposals is going to be released any day now. I know that because I put it on the website. It's being tested right now, and we're really excited to start looking for new sessions, new talks. Maybe there's going to be something about libraries and Instagram. It's a popular topic. Also, that registration rates are all being set, and we're probably looking at registration opening in May. So, exciting stuff. Normally on Tool Talk, I show you 3 types of tools. I show a favorite tool, I show something that's new to you, and I show something that we're going to explore more together. But today is different because we have our special guest, Mr. Watson. And in case you needed some proof that Mr. Watson and I have appeared in a lot of photos together, not all of which I believe ever made it to Instagram. Kim can tell me, whether or not these were photos that ever should have been on Instagram if I was using a business account for Instagram. You can see Ken and I at various events involving food, sports, and alcohol, and libraries. Those are, from various conferences and events. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that, Ken and I go back. So we're talking Instagram marketing, and those are the tips we're going to get from Mr. Watson. And real quick, I just went out and did a real quick look, because again, these are libraries that I follow on my own Instagram account and others that are really popular on Instagram. And this is a really good week to be talking about this, since a lot of libraries are showing the love during National Library Week. I love that, and so some of these are ideas that if your library hasn't already been using, you certainly could. And in fact, I'd love it if you threw it in the chat whether your library has done something similar. So we've got the LA County Library up at the top pulling out of their archives, great source, showing from one of their early bookmobiles for Bookmobile Day. We've got Canon AFB Library in New Mexico showing some crafts they were doing to decorate up your library card holders. Again, LA County Library. This one I don't think was for National Library Week, but I mean, come on, cute new patron with their brand new library card.
And you can never go wrong with babies.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong. Now there's obviously the question, public library, do we need to get permissions? I'm assuming they got permission from the parent of this incredibly cute baby. That is something that you need to think about. We have down here in the corner, this is another one, a great behind the scenes, and probably you can they're using a wide angle lens, maybe even a GoPro type thing. That is from the Smithsonian libraries, where they're doing scanning. So behind the scenes, always another great opportunity to share what's going on in your library. In the middle, Bookface Fridays. That one's from San Francisco. Book Spying Poetry. I believe this is also National Poetry Month. This is from the Syosset in New York. So we got some Book Spying Poetry, and then showing some local love. The Free Library of Philadelphia has a new book bike, or maybe it's not that new. It's maybe even, although it looks on the newer side. And they had it out during perhaps one of the nicer days this week. There have been very few of them lately. Spring is very late in coming. Showing off again their love for, National Library Week. So we know libraries are using Instagram, but Ken's here to tell us how can we be better at it and how can we be more intentional about it for our marketing, right, man? So I'm going to exit. We'll come back to that in a second and how you can talk to me about other library marketing training and topics. And Ken's going to share his screen. And awesome. Folks are showing some of their Instagram accounts in the chat window. Excellent. I've got new stuff that I'm going to follow later on, and definitely everybody, don't forget to save the chat. So Ken?
Yes, I'm trying to go select. There we go. Okay, so got my screen?
Got your screen. All right.
Okay, libraries and Instagram. First, a little bit about me. I'm Ken Watson, obviously. I run Watson Knowledge Services, or Watson KS for short, since it's a very long name. I work, social media marketing. I work with small businesses and organizations on their social media marketing, in particular, Instagram. I provide also coaching sessions to help them and guide them on their social media. They may not need, say, someone handling their social media 24/7, but they just need coaching guidance. So I try to keep up with all the latest trends, tactics, and practices, and that's been very difficult lately with Instagram and also Facebook, but I won't go in there. It's also, I do full-on social media management as well on a limited basis. I do have a few positions open if anyone's interested, just because full-on social media management is very time-consuming, so I do try to limit that to a few clients. I also run Chatgram. It's actually in the process of being transformed to Chatgram Live. It was a weekly Twitter chat, but it is now going to twice a month, and it's.
Ken, we've lost some of your audio. You got real soft all of a sudden.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
No idea. Let's see. Try repositioning the mic. Is that better?
Folks, let Ken know in the chat. Is that better? Where can you talk a little bit more, Ken, so we can tell?
Let's see.
No, not really.
Huh.
Ken's gonna have to yell into the mic.
Let's see. Let me go into the audio options real quick and see.
Yeah, you may need to double check. In the meantime, I will talk. Well, yeah, he's very stuff like he was sound like he was talking into a mic before, and now you don't all of a sudden.
Yeah, I just switched it over, so I think it had the auto adjust, and maybe that's why it went faded.
You sound a little bit better now. I will definitely say this is a great chance to plug the fact that with Ken's Chatgram faded glory, Mr. Attenborough, hello, sir. That I would definitely, when he gets his screen back up, I want you all to take note, because there have been a lot of changes lately and a lot of questions and a lot of confusion. There always is on social media. I believe I quipped on Twitter that social media changes faster than a librarian can change a cardigan. Yeah, I went there. And that, questions on reach, questions about, things dropping off the table, that I think it's awesome that Ken's got this, and now I can, everybody can see it, on April 17th for his Chatgram, that he's got folks coming in to talk with him about these changes. And I'm really encouraging all of you to hook up and to show up April 17th at his session, because I think that's really going to answer a lot of the questions that I know were brought up when I was talking on Facebook and stuff about that. And about answering some of the concerns that folks are having. And it's really great that Ken's has that opportunity coming up, very timely. So
yeah, so okay, so I adjusted the settings because I had auto adjust on the microphone setting, so I wondered if that might have played a role.
all right, excellent. You sound a little bit better, so why don't you go ahead and we'll get back to it.
Okay, yeah, well, you did a great job on Chatgram. Yeah, so yeah, it is going to be a Facebook Live, a chat show now on my Facebook page. Yeah, it's going to be the first and third Tuesday of each month at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Actually, I just put the announcement out today for next week on where I'm talking with the great folks of Union Matrix. They have been on Chatgram before, but when it was a Twitter chat, it's also kind of fun because their social media manager is actually part of their offices are in Austin, and I found out the social media manager is actually from Houston, and we grew up in the same school district, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, so Instagram, Twitter, you can find me at WatsonKS. Facebook, it's Watson Knowledge Services, because unfortunately, another Ken Watson has WatsonKS, and I cannot get that name. So enough about me. What is Instagram? Well, obviously, Instagram is a social media platform, but it has become much more than just a photo video sharing site. With all the features they continue to roll out between direct messaging, live, Instagram stories, and some new stuff might be coming out, like actually calling features where you're gonna be able to call, much like Facebook Messenger, where you can actually call and communicate with people face to face within Instagram. So that's going to open up a whole new avenue. But this enables multiple ways to reach and engage with your audience, and also for your audience to engage with you. In many ways, Instagram has become a blogging platform because you have like 10,000 characters you can work with the caption. So you can basically write a mini blog post. You can also, like a lot of people, and I do it as well, is I use it for news features so I can get more in depth, on stuff, because, with Twitter, you have 280 characters. You can only do so much with that. Facebook, because of the limited reach and engagement, I don't do that, very in-depth posts on Facebook. So with Instagram, I can get more detail on, say, breaking news, what's going on, highlight, say, if I do have a blog post coming out, I can actually do a teaser, and that way it gets people interested in what the actual blog post might be. Like I said, higher engagement rate per post than most social media platforms. The going average rate for Instagram on engagement rate per post is 4%. If you can get 4%, you're rocking it. Say like on Twitter, I'm lucky if I break a 1% engagement rate. Even that was even when I was running the Twitter chat weekly. Facebook can kind of vary. I know some people that actually have a 20% engagement rate, but they have a hardcore
Wow.
You're lucky if you're getting if you're getting a 1%, maybe 3% engagement rate on Facebook.
Now, Ken, are you going to tell me that? Are you going to tell all of us later? How do we know what our engagement rate is per post on Instagram?
There is a mathematical formula. It's basically if you take your likes and add your likes and comments together, divide that by the number of your followers, and then times that by 100, and that is your engagement rate per post.
I don't like doing math. Isn't there somewhere that can do the math for me on that?
There is actually a tool.
I'll let you get, if that's not in there, I'll let you make sure that you bring that up later. I want to make sure you get the rest of the tips, but.
Yeah, there's also this engagement rate per post, and then your average engagement rate per post, which is basically a similar formula, but you're doing that with your top 9 posts, in your grid.
Okay.
So you take all the likes and add all the likes and comments together from the first top 9 posts, then you divide that by 9, and then this mathematical formula as well with that.
Okay.
I figure math might scare people if I put that in the slides.
Let's go with pictures then math.
Yeah, but I can show you later an actual tool that basically you just plug in your user your username, and it tells you instantly what your engagement rate.
Excellent. We love tools. That's why this is tool talk, not math talk. Okay.
Now, it's also is why to be on Instagram is right now there's over 800 million registered users, and there's 600 million users per month. The number, it is projected to hit 1 billion at some point this year. So you want to tap into that. Because out of the 600 active monthly users, 52% of them engage with brand accounts. So that is an audience that you want to be able to tap with that audience. So, okay, so with all of that is basically how do you rock Instagram? You know, I sort of have my 9 keys: time, know your branding, have a strategy, and sticking to it. That's a hard one for people. How to set up a killer Instagram profile. And content is the ruler of Instagram. Nothing else, you gotta have the content. It's also engagement. Understanding the platform, having awesome set of tools, and pitfalls to avoid. Now let's start breaking it down. Yes, time. Time. Basically, Instagram requires more time than most social media platforms.
Which is challenging. That's something that most of us don't have, you know, especially my library peeps here. So what's your best time tip?
Yeah, it's basically, between the time of, the visual side of creating the visual element, the caption, finding the time to make the content, and also just time engaging on Instagram. Basically, the number one tip I tell people is schedule a weekly meeting with yourself for 1 hour. Say like Monday at noon or whatever time slot you can find. Schedule a meeting with yourself. If you have to find a place to hide. Use that hour to create content. Have a content calendar. Because that's going to also be coming up in one of my later tips. Is content calendar is a blessing to have. Basically, because instantly what if say certain events, holidays, stuff, basically put that into your calendar, and that helps you aim to achieve and create posts for that time, for that particular day and time. Also schedule, I say, 3 to 4 15-minute breaks throughout the day. That's going to be your engagement time. Because that's the time you use to respond to comments, to respond to direct messages. You also engage with other content. Basically, the accounts you follow. That's your relationship building time. And so,
got it.
So basically, once you start setting up these time increments, you got your weekly, content meeting, where you create content. Then you got your daily engagement time. That's gonna just smooth the process and get things flowing. It's also knowing your brand, have basically your voice, language, and tone, everything set up. That way, when you're posting content, it's basically you don't spend time like, well, is this our brand? Is this our not a brand voice? It's also make sure you design your voice to sound human. People want to don't want to read a robot. They want to read a human voice. Like you say, if you look at my Instagram posts, I always start off with, "Hey, Insta peeps." It's basically they know it's coming from me. It's basically, even if they don't look at the visual image or the brand or the account that posted, to see the Insta peeps, people know, oh, this is Ken.
Got it.
It's basically, I want to make sure, you want to have specific, tone and language set, so because you do not want to sound robotic.
Can I also assume that, that Instagram encourages that slightly informal? I mean, you're not going to want to sound, I think even some of the larger brands that I follow on Instagram, besides sounding human, it's not stilted brand speak. It's okay to be talking like you're talking to a pal, or in your case, your Insta peeps.
Yeah, it's basically, you don't want to sound like, you just swallowed a PR person.
They don't taste good. Well, I say that, and yet for those of you who weren't here, That was one of our other popular guest hosts. I had a longtime friend who's a PR expert on earlier in the winter. Definitely check out the replay of that that's on the website. I don't think Stacy would be prickly to go down, in terms of swallowing, but I get that that's not true for all PR folks.
Yeah, especially you don't want to sound like a PR person or just say a lawyer or
no, those are prickly.
You want to sound like you're having a conversation with people, and that's also when you sound like you're posting like there's a conversation going on. That's going to hook people into wanting to engage with your content. That's also what I call, your style and colors, your fonts, your filters. Basically, that's all part of the visual element. It's basically, I don't necessarily use preset filters for my content or most of my clients' content, actually. I kind of mostly work with the photo itself, but a lot of brands and marketers and other people, they have like these preset filters that, they apply to every photo.
I was going to say, we've almost gone back and forth between, like, there's the pride between people who post things on Instagram under #NoFilter versus the ones who are like, okay, there's a gazillion filters there. Obviously, Instagram seems to want you to use them. I know personally, I guess I went through my my Juno and my Nashville phases. Are you saying that, my folks and my library friends here, should we not use filters at all? Or should we, if we like one, pick one and that becomes the style for all of the photos that we use?
For the people that want to use filters, I say have 3 filters in mind. Basically, these are going to be your 3 filters you always use. Now, some people stick it to 1. I say 3 because, that way you can kind of see which one works best with the photo or the visual element.
Yeah.
But I tend to prefer to stay away from filters just because I prefer working with the photo itself. Basically, what can I do to make this photo look a little bit more polished, a little bit more, because sometimes it's just sometimes these preset filters, they just don't work with it. It can be a great photo, it goes with it's basically,
yeah,
it's like, I'm not going to rule out a photo just because it doesn't work with the filter.
So, all right, another question. We may get more into the weeds than you want here. And for those of us who are more photo buggy than others, and that's a question that I'll maybe save for you. Things like, if we're not taking pictures with the camera and we're taking, pictures with a real camera, of which I have several in the room with me here, how to get those onto Instagram. I assume that's another tutorial altogether. Is that preferred? And the next question is, and maybe this is my personal preference from being a long time, serious amateur photographer. If the photo itself isn't that great, don't use it? Or is it better to find a filter that enhances a not great photo? Or also, how often are you editing photos with some other tool before you ever put it into Instagram so that photo looks as good as possible without needing a weird filter?
Yeah. Basically, because I also have my professional, camera, that I just got recently. But majority of the stuff I work with, I take with my phone. It's basically now every photo I put out there has been touched. It's basically, what can I do to clean it up a little bit? Because maybe bring down the brightness or increase the saturation or decrease the saturation. It's basically I work with the photo to see how can I make this photo pop? What can I make this photo to look so good that people are going to basically stop scrolling? And that's also an element too, is you want to think about is when you are in your Instagram feed, what makes you stop?
Good point.
It's basically basically you want to use your experience and apply that to the what your audience is like, because basically they're going to mimic your what you do. So it's also so when you're scrolling, is basically when you see a graphic or a photo or whatever, make a note of, okay, why did this make me stop? How can I take that and use that for my content?
Cool.
And it's also so if you're also using a camera or your photos or whatever, is cloud storage. It's basically Dropbox, iCloud, OneDrive, Google, whatever is basically put everything into a cloud folder, and then basically that way you have it. And it's also then you want to create some type of category folder system, that way you can easily find stuff. Now, if a photo is not so good, I have two options: delete it, or how can I make this an abstract background? Because sometimes they bad photos can become great abstract backgrounds.
Okay.
Basically, how can I, if I blur it, does it look kind of cool? I've been known to do that a few times. I mean, it's like, there was one time where I had my phone, I accidentally took a photo of my jeans. But then I started looking at it, I'm like, that is a great background.
So there you go, lesson, folks. That and that fits part into strategy. That knowing why you're sharing, and here's where me talking marketing plans and strategy and comes in, and this is real key for me, because earlier this week I was teaching webinars on marketing plans, and I love that you can mention goals and outcomes. Know why you're on Instagram and why you're posting each thing, because then you can figure out, does that photo help enhance your strategy for right now, or is it like Ken's saying, you've got a photo and you can maybe save that and use that for something else, or turn it abstract, and that becomes your fun filler content versus the something that's promoting a specific event. But sorry, go ahead on. Let's talk more about strategy here, Ken.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like with strategy, I kind of slumped strategy between a marketing strategy, content strategy, and procedure strategy. It's sort of a mashup. Your overall goals and outcomes is basically, why are you on Instagram? What do you want out of it? And I will say this: if a client or someone I'm talking to says, "Well, I'm on Instagram to make money," if I know them very well, I would probably do the Gibbs slap upside the head, or I'll do a verbal slap, because everyone's goal is to make money. I mean, that's the overall business goal: make money. Okay, so basically, I say is eliminate that. Eliminate from the mindset. It's basically, most goals and outcomes to be on Instagram is, you want to bring brand awareness. It's also engage with the community, your industry community, and also just your local community. It's also showing the human side of the organization, the library, the people behind it, what you're doing, what everyday life. Storytelling is basically show things that are happening in the office, or or some event, or basically just showcase the organization, the library, or the business, whatever. But I'm also, you probably have heard this in a lot the last couple of years with this whole storytelling and marketing. There is a growing fundamental shift in storytelling. Is not trying to get political, but just with certain things going on the last couple of years, people are more interested in community impact at a local level. So it's basically storytelling and showing how you're giving back to the community.
Well, this is perfect. This is right up on my library pals alley, right, folks? We can do this.
Yeah, and it's also, say like me being in Houston is everything after Harvey is basically, people want to see is what were local businesses and stuff doing to help out Harvey stuff with Harvey, with the cleanup, the recovery. It's also people want to see is that you have now that's what, 6 months after Harvey, or how many months now, is that you haven't forgotten, because there's still a lot of stuff going on here that we're still recovering, and there's sort of people have moved on, but but it's also the ones that are still recovering, they want to see businesses and organizations and stuff still helping out in the recovery process. And so then kind of shifting focus a little bit is on the types of content. You got it's basically, you also got to think of photos, graphics, videos, animation. It's basically then how you want to use that. You want to use that in newsfeed content, stories. You want to use that for Instagram stories. It's also with Instagram live content. I will say this is photos and animation and graphics perform much better in the news feed than straight up video.
Okay.
There's also, you want to think, but why is that? Because it's basically most people, when they're just scrolling through their news feed, they don't have their headphones or earbuds or anything. So they're not as likely to start playing, have the volume on their phone in public, with people around them. And then, so they're not going to be able to hear what your video is saying. When people are tuned in with stories, they're going to have their earbuds and stuff. So that's where video really works.
Okay, video better in Instagram stories.
Yeah, okay. Video is much better with Instagram stories. I'm trying to think of, I think it was a straight up square image in Instagram is 68%. Will get 68% more engagement than any other type of media posting. So
what about Kim? What about have the ubiquitous quote pics outlived their usefulness? Have they gone, or is that still a big thing on Instagram?
It's a mixture. It kind of comes and goes.
Okay.
I'd say like limit them to maybe like the old motivational Monday kind of thing, or when yours, Wednesday wisdom type thing. It's also just want to make sure the quotes really align with your brand. And you're just not posting a quote for the sake of a quote.
Right. And hey, that's another that's something that I didn't do, and I did not put in my slides some of the common library-related hashtags. So if you want to throw any of the hashtags that you're using most commonly in the chat window to share with other folks, that'd be great. Things like, I know, Libraries of Instagram, Bookface Fridays, obviously National Library Week, and some other things like that. But definitely share those and share the ones that you think have worked well for your libraries. And we can, I know I have some tools that I mentioned in the blog post I wrote on how to find and search hashtags to find the right ones. And Ken may or may not be. Ken, are you talking hashtags later or not?
Yes.
Cool. All right. So let's keep going. Sorry, I'm also trying to keep, Ken on track here. I love Ken,
it's
much
like,
time, man.
Joking a promotion. I mean, it's basically, I am doing the ultimate cramming for Instagram into, the short amount of time window. But it's also to think about what strategy is also in sticking to it is, also who's going to be running the account. Is it just going to be one person or a team? And then you also want to make sure, things are divided up and there's no toe stepping. Because say like, with a team setup, who's going to be creating the content, who's going to be monitoring this, the posting, and also who's going to be monitoring like the comments, and who's going to be the one engaging. So you have to think about that with a team setup. Is also, you want with a team setup some type of spreadsheet or CRM type tool, so you can make notes of people that are engaging with your content, these accounts, and also the people you're engaging with on their content. So you can start making notes of, this, make more of a personal notes, so that when when you're responding, you have like that kind of history, and what this person's about. Because say like, when I'm engaged, when people engage with my content, it was a regular engager and I follow them as well. I'll make a note of like how we connected, how we started following each other, things we've kind of bonded over. Also, I'll make notes of, like, say if they start talking about their dogs, I'll put their dogs' names in this note. That way you have this relationship tool. And so, when responding back of, you don't sound so robotic and that there's no connection.
Is that something that's even, I was going to say, reasonable or possible when you're a larger organization?
With a larger organization, it's basically, it is possible, because like the tool I use, Agora Pulse, there is a note-taking function that I can add to all my followers with, for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that. It's basically, as I'm able to input notes, and so that way, I can see that, and it's also like with clients, they can see that, and so they have that information at their disposal.
Cool.
Because I also know, was it Sprout Social has a similar function, and there's a few other tools too. I don't think Buffer has it, but
if they do, it's in the paid plan. I haven't looked at it.
Yeah, lately. And then there might be a like an add-on tool with Hootsuite. I'm not, Hootsuite. I try not to touch.
Okay. All right. More tips, Ken. Keep it coming.
it's basically the team setup. It's just really want to take note, with the who's engaging, because basically those are the relationship builders, and basically engagement is like the second most important thing with it comes in with Instagram. Is basically if you're not engaging with other content, people are going to be less likely to engage with your content. Basically it has to be a mutual relationship. It's not a one-sided relationship. With that being said, let's move on to killer Instagram profile.
Yep, this is just me giving you a friendly time check. So just you have all these great tips I want you to share, but at the same time, folks have to eventually get back to their actual jobs. They aren't like you and me here, independent.
I'm trying to see where I can kind of start rushing things, but for Instagram killer profile, is basically your name and username is the most important thing, because that is the only way people can actually search for you. Your bio is not searchable.
Okay.
With the newest rollout thing of where you can have clickable hashtags in your bio, that does not do anything for searchability. So your bio is just basically a filler piece that tells people what's going on, what you're about. But you also have to remember you have 150 characters to work with, so you want to keep it short and sweet. And it's also, and I would say is if you have a branded hashtag, that is the one you go ahead and put that in there. There's also, because then it is clickable, then people can see your other content with that branded hashtag. Like I said, you don't want to just throw in hashtags, say like library or say like hashtag social media. I would not put that in my profile in my bio, because if someone clicks that goes to Explore tab,
everything, and
they see every freaking post with that hashtag, and then you just took people off your content. So if you want to include a hashtag in your bio, just make sure it's branded, and that that it strictly is branded, and that it doesn't, no one else's content is using that hashtag. The URL is also very important. I tell if you're going to use the URL, at least use a customized Bitly link. Google Analytics and stuff cannot track activity within the Instagram app, because when someone clicks the link in the Instagram app, that traffic's still within Instagram. That's not trackable data. Okay. Now, I use a specific tool called Linktree, and I can show that in a little bit. Basically, it gives me the ability to use multiple links for one thing. It's basically what it does is when someone clicks my Linktree link on my profile, it goes to sort of basically a landing page, and I'm able to set up multiple destinations on that landing page. So basically, if say people are wanting to register for this webinar, they will click that straight to the registration page, or they can go to say Chatgram stuff or my business stuff. And it's also since I have a paid account with them, and it's only $6 a month, so it's pretty cheap. But there is a free version. Yeah, I will say that there is a free version.
For Linktree, I put Linktree in the chat, but I'm going to go find their.
It's linktr.ee. Since I had the paid account, I was able to also add my social media icons and contact buttons on that landing page, and it's also I'm allowed to do time released links. So basically, I can set start dates and end dates for links. So
all right, Ken. So that's another one for and I know I've seen some other brands do this. If you're doing an event, if you're doing a promotion, and you want to direct people back to I think a lot of us have seen posts where they say "see link in bio."
Yeah.
With this tool, you could say, for example, that the link that's only going to be for the sign up for an author talk, or the sign up that's going to be for your something related to summer reading, or you can have those timed and set up so that'll automatically change out.
Yeah. So basically, the Linktree link on your profile stays is basically it's your customized bio link.
Okay.
So when they click it, it goes to a landing page, and then within Linktree, you tell it which stuff you can use. Actually, let me go ahead and switch over to.
Yes, since we're about tool talk, show the tool, please.
Can y'all see it?
Yes.
Okay, so like over here, it's basically, I can tell, okay, webinar for today, then that, I have the chatgram one for that. So when people, click that, actually, let me go over here. So like over here, you see a link tree, that, so then they go here. So then, then people see all these options.
Got it.
Now on the back end, since I have a paid account, I can tell it, so like this one was for the chatgram 2 weeks ago. Well, it's now gone to sleep because I told it to go to sleep at a certain date.
Got it.
Yeah, this thing is great for, it was great for my retail clients for during Black Friday stuff.
Sure. So, I can, and I may ask you to jump ahead, with some of the tools and analytics and stuff. And I know that analytics is something that's available if you've got a business profile on Instagram. Is this something that will also help you figure out how often are people clicking in the bio?
Because you'll see like data available, how many times, because since one was a very short time span I had it active, it was only like, okay, you got one click. You may not get a lot of clicks. Sometimes, like say like for yours, I had four clicks and 2 in the past 7 days. So you have a little bit of knowledge.
How often do you know anything about, are there any stats that how often do people click links in any link in the bio on Instagram? And folks, you can feel free to put it in the chat. Have you ever clicked a link when it said, see link in bio? Did you?
Yeah, that's something is, and it's even on Instagram itself, it'll show you like, how many people clicked your link, but, you won't see who or what they did with it. Some people have very good click rates, others not so good. It just really depends on what people are interested in and what your audience is interested in, and if they want to learn more.
All right, I'll let you switch back and keep going, because I definitely want I want you to be able to get to the part to talk about, in particular, excellent. Somebody told me they absolutely have clicked the link in the bio. I really want to be able to have you show some highlights in Instagram, and I also want to have folks tell me in the chat, is your Instagram account right now a business profile, which Ken has highlighted with 3 exclamation points, because this is something I've only learned about recently, that this is what I want to have, because this gives me analytics. This gives me like all the stats that we want to know whether or not this is actually having any effect on our marketing. So tell me about business profile, and then tell me definitely about analytics. And we may have to, skip some other stuff, but definitely, talk tools to me here.
Yeah, we can skip some things, or just quickly, gloss over. With business profile, it's basically, it unlocks a treasure trove of analytics stuff, but it also unlocks, say, contact buttons. So people, you can tell it to, email, call or text you, and also, if you have a location, so you'll have a directions button, so people can get directions to the business or to the library or whatever. But most recent reason why you want a business profile is you can, with Instagram third-party partners, you can do direct publishing of content. You bypass the whole push notification scheduled postings.
So that's how Hootsuite, Buffer, and the other tools now finally have true scheduling. Yeah. Is if you've got a business profile.
If you have a business profile. Now, there is one catch. And of course, anything Instagram gives you, there's always a catch. It's only for square images. You can't do portrait, you cannot do landscape, you cannot do video scheduling. It's only square images. And it's also only for a single square image, so you can't do an album. But they finally gave us something.
Right.
Now, the only key thing you need for a business profile on Instagram is it has to connect to a Facebook page. That is the only requirement. It has to connect to a business page, a Facebook page, because basically ads. if you want to run ads, it has to know which page to run Facebook ads off.
But since I'd say most of us here, okay, even I have a Facebook business page. I have two. Our libraries have those, so that shouldn't be something that's stopping us. Again, I put the question in the chat for those who hadn't seen it, asking whether or not your libraries, your organizations, do you have business profiles? Did you make that switch? And if not, I think we're all going to be running out to do that.
Now, also, I know one of the hiccups is, and one of the myths is, if I switch to an Instagram business profile, that's going to decrease my engagement and reach. Wrong. There is no evidence to support that.
Myth busted. All right.
Yeah, I mean,
and I will say that definitely watch some of Ken's last videos and chatgrams and some of his posts, and one of the people that Ken turned me on to that I put in the blog post that goes with this is Jen Herman of Jen's Trends, and I swear Ken and Jen are like the myth busters. They are constantly busting these myths. I won't ask Ken to go into them. If you need to know, there's a ton of them, and
I will say is, Jen does a great job of busting because she has the data to back her stuff up. It's basically, she can literally deconstruct anything. It's basically like, I have all this data. I mean, she is methodical. It's basically, she actually has a background in forensic science. So that's, this is where it comes from. It's basically, she has this mindset of totally ripping things apart.
Awesome.
Let's just go into insights real quick.
Yeah, show me some of what we can learn and why, and how that helps us from a marketing standpoint. So that we're not, I mean, let's face it, the whole point of this here is that we all know we could share nice pictures on Instagram. The question is, how are we doing this with an actual active, strategic marketing focus? And obviously Insights helps a lot with that.
Yeah, Insights is a treasure trove. It's basically, you can see instantly how many people you've reached through the whole week. You can also see where your audience is. As, obviously, I have a huge Houston following. Apparently, I have a big, Los Angeles, and New York, and London. I have no clue. I was reaching them.
But that makes sense because, Ken, if you're trying to target a lot of, if you're looking for clients locally in Houston, you want that Houston section to be huge. The same way that if you're a library, you want more of your posts being seen by in your local community. Hey, it's great if you're in LA and you've got folks like me on the East Coast that love your photos, but it's more important, folks, if that's not skewed the wrong way for your community.
Yeah. And that's, it's also try to think of like tone and language. It's basically, obviously Houston's I'm going to have a different tone of language. I can get a little more away with, say, some of the Southern, verbiage.
Y'allisms? You y'all a bit more. You y'alls.
Y'all and howdy and, and it's basically, we understand the saying of bless your heart,
Hashtag bless your heart. Sorry. So Ken, here's a question for you. And I know that I've seen a lot of different research on this. Question that came in that says, how often should one, including, should a library be posting on Instagram versus, how much is too much? And, I know I've seen, while you can post the bejesus out of Twitter because of how fast it goes, that it's a little different for, for a Facebook versus an Instagram.
I was saying at the moment, less is more with Instagram when it comes to news.
So define less. Is less?
Yeah.
I'm guessing that doesn't mean once a week.
No, it's
you're talking once a day.
That's actually once a day is the max you want to do.
Okay.
Because the way the algorithm works is if you post more than once a day, basically, say if you post something in the morning, well, then if you post something again in the afternoon, you actually just killed your morning post. It's basically because the way the Instagram algorithm works is it's a priority system. Basically, so the more someone engages with your content, the higher they're going to see it in their feed. But then it prioritizes because it's going to show, because with the newest tweak they did with the algorithm is newer posts get bumped to the top. So if that afternoon post is going to be it's going to be bumped up higher, and then the morning one's going to go all the way down. So the most you want to do is once a day. Now, if you have an event, this is sort of a special circumstance. It says it's sort of a special time, I always recommend a morning, afternoon, and then evening. If that's like the absolute max when it comes to
day of, leading up to the event.
The day of, basically when the event is happening. So say if you have a 2-day conference, so for 2 days you can post morning stuff, afternoon, and evening. That's at the most, because that's also when the most, because since with like an event, people are going to be more engaged with a hashtag, so they're going to see that, and so it's sort of a get out of jail free card. But for regular posting, you do not want to exceed more than once a day. That's one is I actually recommend people for newsfeed posting, you want to do at least 2 a week, 3 at most. Basically that 2 to 3 times a week is sort of golden. But this is where stories and live come in. Stories and live helps support your regular content. It's basically, you can actually say if you post something on Monday, well, for say like Sunday and Tuesday, you can kind of, if you have supporting content, you can actually circle around that post, that Monday post, and basically drive traction to it and get engagement and more engagement on the actual post itself. And then it's also, say if you have a blog post coming out, or a news item, you post on Wednesday. Well, Tuesday you do stories supporting the upcoming blog post. Then the day of when you have the blog post, then you have your newsfeed post, announcing the new blog post. And then you want to do an Instagram live and basically do a 20 to 30 minute, chat with people about the Instagram. About
20 minutes? 20 minutes? That seems like a long time.
Actually, the longer your Instagram live, the more audience you're going to get.
So much just saving you time, folks, like I put in the chat window. I've saved you time. Ken has recommended saving you time in terms of planning and strategy and photo taking and photo editing. You've just lost all of that back on the end of videos, but we'll save that for another discussion. What else can we learn from insights? Or Ken, what other tools do you use to add on for insights and stats and tracking and knowing whether you're on target?
I use Agora Pulse. It's my main management tool. It's basically, I'm able to see, I'm able to run monthly reports of on engagement and stuff like that. The other tool I use is Union Matrix. It's basically, I'm able to analyze detail. Now, some of it has changed because of the API changes. Like hashtag tracking is now dead. So that's kind of, but there's also certain other things have switched just because of these changes, and that's why I'm bringing them in on Tuesday, because I want to be able to understand what I'm going to be able to start doing, because they kind of changed the game a little. Instagram changed the game a little bit.
It's a constantly ever shifting sands, and here's my one plug for folks to, you don't build a foundation, you don't build a house on quicksand, and we should all be using social media to have an engagement, have a conversation, and drive traffic someplace else that we actually own. Because as you all realize, and from 2 days of congressional hearings, folks, we're the product on social media, and we don't own our followings. We don't own our data either. But we won't get too dark and depressing here, because I use Instagram to keep me uplifted. So do you have other stuff you want to show me here? I'm sorry, making you scroll down because
basically it's also, as people aren't aware of this, is there's Instagram post insights. It's basically
insights. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically these are insights on individual posts. So when you click view insights, you'll get this first little thing. Then you have to scroll it down to see the rest of the data. So basically you can see like, okay, from this post, from post promoting this, at this point in time. I created 2 actions, which people went to go check out the profile. I know that 18% of of interaction came from people that were not already following me. So I know
is that good?
Reached 109, but there's also, I can see the breakdown of the reach of 109, but the impressions of 120. And there's also, I know 104 that came from from the newsfeed section itself, but then it's also, I know 11 came from the hashtag. And then, then of course, then 2 profile. So you can get individual data per post.
With the business profiles.
With the business profile, yeah.
Okay. And definitely, while Ken's getting onto the next slide on to talk a little bit more about keys to keeping to rocking it on. I want to see the rest of keys to rocking it on. You keep scrolling. That here's a chance to, folks who have other specific questions on Instagram marketing, throw them in the chat window. And even if we don't get to them before we end at 2:00, Ken and I will work to address them, because Ken, if you're cool with this, I want to put your slides online.
Yeah.
And we'll have a post of the video, and I'll make that available. And Ken and I might answer some more questions. I'll have Ken answer for them in a blog post. So definitely, if you've got something burning, that's why you're here. Then put it in the chat window so that we can get to it. And and if it's something specifically about metrics and analytics, then definitely by all means bring it to Ken's chatgram on April 17th.
Yeah.
So what else?
If there's specific questions, I'm happy to answer. Then I can just, I can just quickly dive into the rest of the stuff.
Right. So Ken, what else do you think? If you've got 5 more minutes, give or take, what do we most need to know about Instagram marketing right now and going forward from your tips?
Basically, the key ingredient really is a content calendar. This is going to be the time savers. When to, because you know exactly what's going on within the organization. You know what upcoming events, holidays, and all that are happening, so that you need to create stuff for that, for that particular key dates, and then so it eliminates the whole when should I post, and and when and where and how to post. It speeds the process up, and you know when to aim for. Also, trending topics like National Calendar Day. That is an awesome treasure trove of just fun holidays. You're able to bring that into your marketing. I use it either for my main newsfeed, or I actually use it for Instagram stories as well. It's like for National Cereal Day, I put an Instagram story out there, and then I also did a poll and stuff like that. And you're able to kind of. I encourage people to answer do they like, I think the poll was, do you like to eat cereal? Yes or no? And then I saw, basically I knew who my cereal lovers were, and I knew who hated cereal. Apparently there was a few people that hate cereal.
Who knew? I'm not going to necessarily fall one way or the other on that one. I'm not going to die on the sword over cereal.
But it's also, the next thing is have the hashtag, what I call a hashtag directory, is a living document of all, of hashtags you've personally vetted and used. Is basically, I have, like for my hashtag directory, I have my core listing, the core hashtags I use for every post. And then, then I'll have say holidays, food, basically just break everything down, but, by categories. I will say this, one of my favorite tools is, that I use for scheduling for Instagram. It's called Plan Only, but it's PLANOLY.
Wait, PLANOLY?
LY. Yeah, that's a weird spelling, but
all right, library pals who are in the chat window, somebody go search that one up and put that link in the chat for us. Yeah, because I don't think I spelled that right.
Yeah, let me flip it over.
So Ken, I think I know because you told me that my blog posts come to your Feedly. I put several hashtag tools in there, but confirm for me because I don't remember. Thank you, Shannon's been on it. She's been getting our links put into the chat for us. Obviously, hashtags are living, breathing, like the engine that's driving Instagram much more so than Twitter. How many are you using, or how many do you recommend somebody's using on a given post?
Well, the ultimate thing is you cannot use more than 30 hashtags, period.
Okay, great. Okay, that's a lot anyway. But should somebody use all 30 hashtags on a post?
That's it's the old, if you want to use it, you can. I normally use between 20 to 25.
Wow.
Because usually there's my core hashtags, that's 12 right there. And then basically, my core hashtags are going to be built, then I have the very topic specific, what I'm talking about is going to be right under them. Now there is some interesting new data I need to actually dive into, is it's newest research is showing that anything over 12 is actually will be considered spam according to the algorithm, and then.
Because I was going to say, some of the stuff that I came up with when I was doing research for this webinar was recommending that you cap it at 10. So that's why I wanted to know what you'd heard.
Yeah. Now there is.
I'd also let you know it's 2 o'clock, folks. I understand if you've got to run. Ken loves his topic so much, so that's why we.
Minutes to an hour.
It's really tough limiting Ken to an hour. I understand if you got to go. We will keep chatting for a few minutes, but not much longer than that. And like I said, if you've got other specific questions, put them in the chat. We'll make sure that Ken addresses a few more, and that you show up to find Watson KS, so that you know when Chatgram is on April 17th.
Yeah, and it's also, you can join the Chatgram Facebook group. If you have questions, just post them in there.
Because I'm really excited. I would definitely be on listening about union metrics and to find out about the API stuff if I wasn't at another event on April 17th. So I'll hopefully, because he's doing it on Facebook Live, it'll save and I can watch it on Ken's page later.
Basically, it'll be living and breathing on my Facebook page, and then So plan only you're looking at here. Now this is where you said you're storing hashtags to use. Yeah, they have a hashtag system. It's basically so I can actually save. Basically, here's my main ones. I have like coffee. I've customized one for Chatgram, so it basically has basically it's just all it is just a saving text, and so then it just copies and pastes it into your post. So basically, you can put anything. Literally, you can actually save other stuff besides hashtags. Basically, if you have like a text you want to keep, and use it for regular posts, then you can do it that way as well. But so I add this instantly to, so my main ones I'll just basically hit copy, and then it, it'll post into my when I'm creating a post, say like here, like say breaking news, I can go move over Zoom, so I can add that. So then all my hashtags have now been added.
Well, now that does look like quite the time saver, because and that's a lot better than my prior trick was literally storing them as a text file in notes on my phone, which a pro photog friend told me to do.
Yeah, because I have a similar situation set up with Evernote, whereas like I have before they added this, before Plan only added this feature.
How much is Planly?
There is I'm operating on the free version. There is a
Well, folks, library fans, you got to go out and add this, because you can now save your hashtags for BookFace Friday and all the alternates of BookFace and libraries of Instagram, plus your branded library hashtags. Now you can save. That's reason enough to go for all of us to go check out this tool. So
it's basically so it's approved partner, so you post, it goes directly, so you're able to publish square images directly to Instagram.
Great tool.
Also, what I do love about this is you can actually plan your stories. So I can literally create story posts. Basically. So then now this operates under the whole push notification system. So when you schedule it, you'll get a push notification on the phone, and what it does, when you open the push notification, it copies the image and text and stuff to your clipboard, and then you just open up Instagram and go into stories and post it that way.
I'm guessing that's still a little bit simpler than doing stories in other ways.
Yeah, it's much. It's basically, so if you have like all these customized graphics and all that, so then you can just go instantly, into stories and just schedule everything in that way. And then so like when you're up, but then when you're in stories, you can add, geolocation tags, hashtags, and stuff like that for discoverability as well. Which I also recommend using geotag. You definitely want to use geotags for content that you want people to see, because adding a geolocation and hashtags to stories drastically increases your viewership. It's basically, I can go from a normal viewership on my stories from 40 to almost 1,000.
Wow. Okay. And so, definitely, folks, those of you who are planning events and you're using stories in advance of your library events, that's what you want to do to make sure that, honestly, you want the folks in your local community who are on Instagram to see that versus, no offense, but the folks in Houston if you're not in Houston. So, awesome. And also, I want you to, Ken, you want to flip back to make sure everybody has the rest of your information real quick, and any other tools that you had listed. I want you to be able to show them. Yep, because there were some folks who I want you to capture this, and obviously you're still going to get the slides in the end. They're going to be on my website because there are a couple of tools there that Ken mentioned that I didn't know about, like Designer and Photofy. Ripple I know about. Ripple I think I've reviewed before, but Photofy and Designer, those are content tools?
Yeah, basically Designer I like to call is the stripped down version of Canva.
Okay.
But the one thing I love about Designer is when you're working on a project in a project folder, you can work on multiple size images at the same time. Whereas like where Canva, where you have, okay, you're working on this, but it's only in Twitter format. But then you have to do the whole magic resize, and it creates a separate file, new file for say like for Facebook posts.
Yep.
Designer is basically so when you say, okay, I'm adding a new image to this file, you can say, okay, but this one needs to be switched from Twitter to Facebook. So you can work on everything in one spot. That's one of the things I absolutely love with it, and it works with Android.
Nah. Awesome.
Spotify, it's basically I would call it a Canva for your phone. It's also because one, it works with Android. I'm an Android person.
I love him anyway, but
Yeah. Now the one thing I will warn with Spotify is if you just use the straight up free version, there is going to be a watermark at the bottom that says Spotify. If you cough up I think it's $1.99 yearly subscription, you can remove the watermark.
okay.
Ripple is also great, but it's also Ripple. I like it's got a setting where you can actually create as Instagram stories as well in it.
Right, because as I say, Ripple I know about that I'd reviewed in some, I think for MLS newsletter, the hybrid mashup of photo, text, animated to make short videos for social media. So I could see that would work for Instagram stories.
Yeah, it's also I would say it's probably like the one video tool, animation tool I use, say for newsfeed posts, because since there is no talking, or you can add music if you want, but I never do. It's the one time I will post an actual video to my newsfeed is with the animation from it, and I know it will get engagement, because I know if I post any video wise, say like with me talking to the camera, it's that post will tank in my newsfeed.
Right.
There's also content planning tools. I use Evernote. It's also you can use Microsoft Excel, Sheet, Google Sheets, Trello. Plan only, because you can be it's a desktop and app, and so you can plan all your stuff and schedule everything out that way. But I also like those. You can say if you haven't scheduled anything yet, you can actually move the tiles around and see what your grid is going to look like in the future. So you can line everything up and make sure this is what your grid will look like.
Okay.
Also, publishing tools. I always recommend anything that's an Instagram partner app.
How do we find that? Does Instagram list somewhere who their partners are officially?
Yeah, there is a site. But if you just say like Instagram partners, if you Google that, you'll get it. You'll get it. I don't have a link on me.
All right, we'll make sure that that's in the blog post follow-up, because that is, these days, that's key. That's always, and that's something that I've said to you folks for years, that even I knew. Instagram kept its code and its API so locked down that there weren't that's why you couldn't schedule. That's why you couldn't do some other things, because they didn't have access. They weren't officially partnered with Instagram, and they kept a pretty short list as to who was a official trusted partner. So it helps to know who those are.
Yeah, and the list has actually gotten much bigger, but but it is very locked down, and so like I know there's a popular tool called Grum that would post on your behalf. That is not a partner, so if you're using that, you're technically violating Instagram terms. That's something So if you use any tool that is not on the approved list, there is a risk of a shutdown. Of where they'll shut your account down.
Awesome. Ken, I appreciate that you have more tips than you could possibly share in the time
I know.
allotted. I
And this was the
appreciate the
short list.
folks. Huh?
This was the short list.
I know this is the short list. This was work. I appreciate those who stuck around. Normally, Tool Talk is shorter than this, and it will be shorter when we go next month. And next month I am going to actually talk about content calendars. And I will probably send out a survey asking about topics and interest for the rest of the summer, because folks have definitely asked me to maybe revisit some social media uh, metrics and analytics tools. I just wrote an article about that, and it's great to hear tools that, like Ken has mentioned, from an Instagram side. Ken, I really, really, really do appreciate you putting this together, because this is not stuff that is not in my wheelhouse. I don't know this, but I know who to ask. So
That's like, and it's also, if y'all have questions, come to Chatgram, the Facebook group, because it's also just not me answering questions. As Jen Herman's actually in the group. Also, other Instagram experts are in the group as well. So anyone can pitch in. If if I don't know it, I can bring in someone that does.
which is great. It's great to know that, to reach out and who to ask. Because, folks, things change all the time. And I may study marketing to talk to my library peeps, and I can't keep up. I mean, Ken's focused here on Instagram as part of social media. And I'm guessing, it's literally Ken's full-time job to keep up with that. So that's why all the rest of you folks that, for whom this is only part of what you're doing in library marketing, part of what you're doing in your solo marketing, you can't keep up. So
No.
if you know who to turn to ask questions like this, like Ken and Ken's pals, in the Chatgram Facebook group, good resources, bookmark those. I really, really do appreciate you taking the time, Ken, and I appreciate that you're willing to let me put this up, to make the replay available to everybody who had signed up, who couldn't make it on time, and for all of us to go back and to take another look at. And so you can take more time looking at all those key tips that Ken put on the slides that we weren't able to get to today. And also that I'm going to share, if you're okay, putting up the links to the Instagram accounts that you all shared, so that everybody can give each other a little bit of Insta love, and I can find new libraries to follow. And I appreciate that.
If you need a reading resource, I highly recommend, actually, it's doing the mirror thing, but Instagram for Dummies. Jen Herman's one of the co-authors.
There we go. Hey, it's not bad. I mean,
it's pretty relevant. It came out like January or February, so there hasn't been too many changes yet to.
Exactly. So this is really awesome, and I appreciate it, Ken. If you would stop sharing your screen for a second, just one, or I will. There we go. Thank you. And I'm going to share one real quick on my end. Do you want to? Yes. Just so everybody has my email address. If you don't already, you should, because things came to you from Zoom from it. If you want to talk about custom webinars, I'm in the middle of a series of custom webinars that I'm doing for the Massachusetts library system, and I'm really loving it. And I love the ones that I did in New York and in Florida. So I'm looking for opportunities that we can talk marketing topics to other library systems and to work out something custom for folks. And you know how to find me. You know how to find me at Marketing Tool Talk. And if you go to the blog on my website, that's where the post is, where I wrapped up a lot of these tools and tips on Instagram, including some of the recommendations on finding and using the correct hashtags. Because just because a hashtag is really popular in the auto-populating feature of Instagram when you're posting, doesn't mean that's the one you want to be using.
Also, I'll throw out there, though, is there are hashtags that are banned.
So that is true. While we've heard a lot of things about myths around banning, there are some hashtags, yes, that you don't want to use. Some of these tools may show that off. I'm sure you could also probably search banned Instagram hashtags.
Well, the problem is that it's such an ever-changing list that it's hard to keep update. But I always say is search a hashtag on Instagram. It'll instantly tell you if it's banned or not.
There's another one.
It's also, there's lifetime bans, and there's also just temporary bans. Like say like holiday hashtags, Instagram will deactivate them during the holiday.
Wait, so you can't actually tag something with Christmas during Christmas?
Correct. because
That sounds like a topic for an entirely different webinar. Okay, thank you, folks. You know how to get me. You know how to get Ken. I really appreciate everybody who's here today, and you'll get a notification and email from me with the replay and blog post and links and questions that hopefully Ken and I get to from taking a look at the chat window. Also, to make sure that you go down there in the chat window, click the button next more for that little arrow, and if you click that, you can save the chat to your computer. So that you have the notes that I was typing as we were going, so that you have the links that Shannon put in for some of the tools that Ken talked about, and you have the Instagram accounts that were mentioned and linked from early on. I really appreciate it. There will be a marketing tool talk in May, talking content calendars. June, I'm not sure about yet, so that look out for your chance to impact what I talk about in June before I go on vacation in July. So I appreciate it. Thank you. And all right, yeah, all right. So excellent. We got another folk here from my great state. Ken, I appreciate you. Want to give everybody a wave from down in Texas to all y'alls.
Bye.
I appreciate you all. You all have a great rest of your Thursday, great rest of your week. Hang on, before I do this, I'm going to take a picture of this, and I think I'm going to picture the Instagram of the webinar that we're doing, because that's how you do this, right, Ken?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
so,
you gotta do the whole.
Well, now, yeah, exactly. I'm like, or can I do this surreptitiously so that you don't see? There we go. So that I've taken a picture without my camera and my phone appearing in the middle of the picture.
Yes, I'm like, really?
All right, folks. Appreciate it. Thank you all so much. Download the chat. We'll see you for the next marketing tool talk, and I'll see you on Chatgram. Appreciate it.